They tried to bury it. They burned its palaces to the ground. They banned its language and slaughtered its kings. Yet Persia is the only empire in human history that outlived every single one of its conquerors. While the great empires of the West crumbled into dust and forgotten names, the spirit of Iran remained, shifting like the desert sands but never disappearing. In the next 10 to 12 minutes, you aren't just watching a history video, you are witnessing a masterclass in civilizational survival. From the world's first superpower to the hidden secrets of the Golden Age, this is the entire untold story of Iran, a story that was never meant to be survived, let alone told. 600 BC, the world was a graveyard of tyrants and fractured tribes. Then, out of the dust of the Iranian plateau, came Cyrus the Great. He didn't just build an empire, he invented a new way for humanity to live together. While other kings used iron chains, Cyrus used the right of the soul. Did you know when he marched into Babylon, he didn't loot the city, he freed the slaves and allowed them to return to their homes. This wasn't just kindness, it was the first global superpowers manifesto. This was the Achaemenid Empire. At its peak, it was massive, spanning 3 continents. To hold it together, they built the Royal Road, 1,500 miles of stone highway that acted as the nervous system of the ancient world. Their postal system was so fast that the Greek historian Herodotus stood in absolute awe, famously writing, "Neither snow nor rain, nor heat nor gloom of night stays these couriers from the swift completion of their appointed rounds." But do not be fooled by the tales of peace. This was a terrifying military machine. They were led by the Immortals, an elite unit of 10,000 soldiers whose number never shrank. If one fell, another took his place instantly, creating the illusion of a ghostly, undying army. They provided the security that allowed trade to flourish, connecting the East to the West long before the Silk Road was a household name. It was a golden age of absolute power, until it met a man from Macedonia who wanted to burn the very concept of Persia to the ground. Imagine the heat. In 330 BC, Alexander the Great stood in the heart of Persepolis, the jewel of the world. He didn't just want the gold, he wanted to erase the Persian memory and replace it with his own. Fire. The fires he set were so intense, so vengeful, they melted the silver right out of the palace walls. For the Persians, this wasn't just a military defeat, it was an existential apocalypse. They watched their history turn to ash in a single night. But Alexander made a fatal mistake. He burned the stones, but he couldn't reach the spirit. After centuries of Greek and Parthian struggle, a new dynasty rose like a phoenix, the Sassanids. They didn't just fight Rome, they humiliated the eternal city. Imagine the Roman Emperor Valerian, the most powerful man in the West, kneeling in the dirt before the Persian king Shapur I. It was a scene that shocked the ancient world and re-established Persia as the titan of the East. This was a civilization of fire temples, intricate silk, and a unique faith called Zoroastrianism, which taught the world about the eternal struggle between light and dark. They held the line for 4 centuries, surviving every Roman legion thrown at them. But as the Sassanids reached their peak, a new wind began to blow from the scorching deserts of Arabia. It brought a new faith, a new language, and a transformation that would challenge the Persian identity to its very core. This is the paradox that defines history. The Arabs conquered the land of Persia, but the Persian mind conquered Islam. While Europe was stumbling through the Dark Ages, the Iranian plateau became the laboratory of the human race. This was the Islamic Golden Age, but make no mistake, its heartbeat, its logic, and its administration were undeniably Persian. The "did you know" factor is staggering. Every time you use the word algebra or algorithm, you're paying tribute to Persian geniuses like Al-Khwarizmi. Every time a modern doctor uses a diagnostic tool or a medical encyclopedia, they are walking in the footsteps of Avicenna, whose canon of medicine was the ultimate authority in Europe for over 600 years. But the survival of Iran wasn't just about science, it was about the heart. Humanizing history, think of the poet Ferdowsi. He didn't fight with a sword, he fought with a pen. He spent 30 long years, 3 decades of poverty, ridicule, and struggle, writing the Shahnameh, the Book of Kings. Why? Because the Persian language was on the verge of disappearing under the weight of Arabic. He wrote 60,000 verses to ensure that the stories of Cyrus, Darius, and the ancient heroes were never forgotten. He succeeded so well that the language spoken in Tehran today is the same one he saved 1,000 years ago. This was an empire of libraries, of Rumi's intoxicating poems, and Hafez's spiritual whispers. It proved to the world that a nation's true borders aren't made of mountains or rivers, they are made of books, songs, and collective memory. Even when the Mongols, the most terrifying destroyers in history, arrived and turned cities into bone, they eventually put down their swords. They looked at the beauty of Persian art and the depth of its philosophy and were conquered by it. You cannot kill a culture that is more sophisticated than your own. 1500 AD. Enter the Safavids. If you ever wanted to see what heaven on earth looked like, you went to Isfahan. They called it Nezf-e-Jahan, half the world. The logic was simple. If you had seen the beauty, the mosques, and the gardens of Isfahan, you had seen half of everything worth seeing in the entire world. Imagine the visual overload. Turquoise domes that seem to change color as the sun moves across the sky. The intoxicating smell of saffron, rosewater, and heavy silk wafting through the bazaars. This was the peak of Persian prestige in the early modern world. The Safavids gave Iran a new shield, a unique religious and national identity that allowed it to stand firm against the Ottoman Empire to the west. They were masters of soft power long before the term existed. Their weapon of choice? The Persian carpet, a complex map of the Persian soul, woven with thousands of knots in wool and silk, becoming the world's most sought-after luxury. But as the 1700s faded, the world was changing. European ships were circling the coasts, and the age of absolute kings was about to collide with the brutal age of industrialization and oil. The last 200 years have been a relentless storm. Oil, the black gold, became the curse that brought the world's hawks to Iran's door, leading to coups, revolutions, and decades of international tension. It is easy to look at the news today and see only a nation in conflict, but that is a shallow view. To understand Iran in 2026, you must look deeper than the headlines. Iran is a 3,000-year-old entity wearing a 40-year-old mask. It has outlasted the caliphates, the Mongol hordes, the British Empire, and the Soviet Union. As we stand here today, the story is far from over. This is a nation of young scientific geniuses and ancient, soulful poets. You cannot destroy a country that remembers the names of its kings and philosophers from 3 millennia ago. Persepolis still stands, scarred but defiant. The poetry of Rumi is still sung in every household. The spirit of the Persian lion is still breathing, still waiting, and still watching. Iran is not just a place on a map, it is a state of mind. It is the proof that while empires are made of stone, civilizations are made of spirit. You've just seen 3,000 years of survival in minutes. Most people only see the surface. Now you know the depth. Which era of this immortal empire shocked you the most? Let's discuss the legacy of Persia in the comments. Subscribe to Finance Unfolded, where we decode the history and the future of the world's greatest civilizations. Keep your eyes on history and your heart on the truth.